Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts will take the world by storm.
There's some big right out there, and you're gonna help me stop it.
Us?
Why, you got someplace to be?
On May 2nd,
Avengers are gone. No one's coming to save the day.
their time
I think we could be the people that are coming.
has come.
Being a hero, there is no higher calling.
Let's do this.
Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts. Only in theaters May 2nd. Get tickets now. This film is not yet rated.
Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
Buckeye Talk is about to begin. Hey, 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 come on in.
Welcome back to Buckeye Talk. I'm Steven Means. That's Stephon Kreisnick, and that's Andrew Gillis. It's day 2 of drafting our spring rosters heading into Ohio State spring game. In our reality, everybody is fully healthy. It's Andrew, it's Stephon going head-to-head while Steven mocks them for making the decisions they made. Get the text 614-350-3315. 2-week free trial, $2.99 after that if you want to give your comments and thoughts on how these two guys are drafted. We did offense yesterday. JJ was the number 1 overall pick. Today, I think the number 1 overall pick is again very clear, but I think everything after that, there's like a depth of talent here, Stephon, that not saying there wasn't on offense, but there's just maybe some more peculiar storylines on the defense because you only have 3 returning starters.
Yeah, defense is fascinating too because it's very dependent on which areas you emphasize too. Like offense, you can easily talk yourself into like, yeah, we need studs at receivers, or yeah, we're going to load up on the offensive line. But this defense, the way it's spread out, I don't know if there's one area you can really emphasize too much compared to others.
So yesterday, Stephon got the number 1 pick, and he chose Jeremiah. And the reason he got the number 1 pick is because Andrew has the bet here. I allowed him to choose whether he wanted to go first yesterday or today. He chose today. So Andrew, you get to go first, and Stephon will have the wraparound pick to start things off. You'll get number 1, he'll get 2 and 3, and then we'll go back and forth. You got to fill 11 positions plus a wild card. So that's 2 defensive ends, 2 defensive tackles, a Mike linebacker, a Will linebacker, 2 corners, a slot, 2 safeties, and then a wild card. You have the first overall pick, Andrew. And unless you're going to be weird about this, you are taking
Caleb Downs. If Stephon is going to get the best offensive player in college football, I'm going to get the best defensive player in college football. I'm taking Caleb Downs. I think especially the way that these teams mapped out. I mean, he has Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Putting a lid on that would be nice. Having some help on the back end would be nice. Or as much help as you can get with it. So Caleb Downs, I mean, look, again, he's the best player in college football on defense. You can move him around to a lot of different ways. Steven, you asked Matt Patricia on Monday, basically like, when did you start to think you could go nuts with Caleb Downs? And he went, ha, 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 ha. Immediately. He was like, it kind of felt like a little bit like he was trying to be nice, but he was trying to let his evil laugh out a little bit, where he was like, we could do so much, blah, 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 blah. We could put him there. We could put him here. We could put him there. We could put him everywhere. Well, yeah, I can put him here. I can put him there. I can put him everywhere. Caleb Downs, layup number 1 pick. And frankly, this was why I chose to kick. Because I was able to go back-to-back tackles to start yesterday, or back-to-back linemen to start. And with this, I think positional value is higher for Caleb Downs than it is Jeremiah Smith.
This is absolutely not true whatsoever, but I'm going to let you stick that way. Stephon, I want to ask you, these were the clear number 1 picks on both sides of the ball. Let's combine them. Who goes first?
I think Jeremiah goes first. I just think we're at the point with Jeremiah where he transcends positional value, whatever we want to say about wide receivers. Like, he is the best player in college football.
Okay. Is that true, Andrew?
That he's the best player in college football? Yes.
No, that like if we would have combined these, that JJ would have gone number 1 and Caleb would have gone number 2.
I think maybe, but like it is not crazy to say, all right, the cleveland.com Mel Kiper big board, who's number 1? It's Jeremiah Smith. But I think you start to go, okay, if we're drafting to get the most balanced, best team, if we're drafting to have the best roster, would you rather have Caleb Downs and then somebody else, or would you rather miss out on Caleb Downs and take Jeremiah Smith and then load up on the receivers? You know what I'm saying? It's like, do you think that position, like the receiver position might just be so good? This is nothing against Jeremiah. It's just the receiver position might be so good and there might be enough questions at safety where it is at the very least a conversation. And I don't think it's crazy for someone to say, look, man, if I don't get Jeremiah Smith, I could still get bop, 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 bop. If I don't get Caleb Downs, there's a lot of questions. And Caleb Downs just happens to be awesome.
So, Stefan, you get to wrap around now. You don't get Caleb. You got number 4, but you didn't get number 2. But you do get picks 2 and 3. So, who's pick number 2?
I'm going to take Kenyatta Jackson. I think he's this team's best edge rusher, and I think edge rusher is probably where this defensive line is where this team is thinnest in depth. I won't say edge rusher because I think tackle depth is even thinner than it is at edge rusher. So yeah, I'm going to take Kenyatta, and then my other pick, unless you guys want to talk some more about Kenyatta.
No, let me see your pick first.
Let's see.
I'm going to take Edric Houston.
Okay, now let's talk about him.
Dude, Edric Houston, I'm so big on this year. I probably don't talk about him enough because I talk about Arvell so much.
Yeah.
His like athleticism and skill on the inside is insane. There's probably like 100 college football programs who would take Edric right now and have them start at defensive end. And Ohio State's like, yeah, we'll just put him on the inside. He's going to be just as good. Like what he was able to do toward the end of last year was very impressive to me. Because not only was he going through, it's not a positional change in a sense of like, some huge drastic shift, but there's, a learning curve that goes with it for a young player. For him to be able to do that so well that we got to literally the college football playoff and Ohio State was like, yeah, we're putting that guy out there. Or was it which game was it? Was it Purdue that Tyleek didn't play?
Yeah, and so he started, yes.
He started? Like, this dude is on a trajectory that we probably don't talk enough about just because there's questions behind him and Caden McDonald. But I'm in love with everything that Edric Houston can do. And I think I maybe got the most versatile player on the defensive line with that pick.
I think Edric Houston's a star. I'm a little intrigued by these picks. I'll hold my judgment for right now because I want to see what happens over the next couple of picks here. Andrew, who is pick number 4?
So this one's really funny because I didn't know if he was going to go defensive line or not.
Take his heart from him. Take his heart. Take it from him.
So that's the other thing. Because right now, the interesting thing is, do you go with the best player available or do you play game theory?
You take his heart. Take it. Take it.
I don't know if I want to take his heart. I didn't think
my heart isn't even the most proven player at his position.
I did say this.
I don't care.
I did say this. Like, I think I will say this. I think if I had the second pick, I would have taken Edric.
Okay.
I don't think I would have taken Kenyatta.
Okay.
And that does put me in a pickle because I didn't think it was going to be Kenyatta. You know what? I got to get some beef. I'm going to take Caden McDonald.
Now I want to talk.
I think Caden McDonald is in line for a really good year. I think people talk about him and they call him Baby Tyleek. I mean, you want to talk versatility, he's replacing a guy who played the 3-tech one year and the nose the other year. Like Caden McDonald, I think is going to be a really, really good shade for Ohio State and a really, really good interior player that obviously is helped out with Edric Houston, but I think Edric Houston is going to be helped out by Caden McDonald. So I think especially with Stefan's offensive line not being all that great, I definitely need to get some defensive linemen just to kind of really own the trenches. So I'm going to take Caden McDonald.
Stephon, I would have taken Execution and Caden McDonald back to back because we keep talking about the lack of depth at defensive tackle. And so if you get the only things we know for sure are going to be quality for Ohio State at defensive tackle, then it also helps when you're pairing it with what your offensive line is. It kind of mitigates that a little bit.
I thought about taking the 2. The reason I didn't is because my offensive line, I'm not too worried about the interior with Luke Montgomery, Padilla, and Tegra.
Yeah.
I was more worried about giving him everything at edge because that's why I jumped on Kenyatta, because I think he's the best of the edge rushers.
That's a fair point. For context here, Stefan's offensive line yesterday was Ian Moore, Luke Montgomery, Josh Padilla, Tegra Shabola, and Deontay Armstrong. Go check out that pod yesterday to get the full breakdown of how that ended up playing out that way. But that makes sense now. That's you. Okay. You got to make sure that the place that you're maybe actually a little bit more vulnerable is taken care of, while also you got the best high-end talent on the interior. But I think this is right. I think all 3 of these guys, I think Kenyatta's in the top 5 of a draft like this, for sure, especially when you start to take into account he's a really good player who's just been stuck behind 2 veterans his entire career. But Caden McDonald, Execution, and Caleb Downs all being in the top 4 as guys from Georgia that Ohio State pulled up here, one of which thanks to Nick Saban's retirement, but still he's here, and they're all going to play a vital part on this team. Stephon, you're back up. Pick number 5.
It's time. The time has come. Arvell Reese, bring him home.
My heart is not even the guy who's the most proven guy in his position. Shut up.
Shut up. We're talking about linebacker as a whole, but if we're talking about his spot in the linebacker room, I think there's a little bit of a gap.
Which is why I said that he should have taken your heart.
Yeah. I'm just going to do whatever I want with Arvell Reese on my defense. Me and Matt Patricia, we both talk about him all the time. We'll toss him back at safety, we'll put him at the edge, we'll put him in linebacker. Me and Matt Patricia are arm in arm when it comes to what Arvell Reese can do. Let it rip.
I'm just going to do whatever I want with Arvell Reese, said Matt Patricia when he talked on Monday about Arvell Reese.
There are times where I'm like, man, we cover these teams, but we don't know nearly enough football as much as these coaches do. Me and Matt Patricia, we're on the same wavelength with Arvell Reese.
Yeah, but this is not X and O's conversation. You can tell a good football player when you see him. That's all that is.
Yeah. I saw it against Akron week 1 last year.
Now, how to go about deploying him? Yeah, sure. Of course, Matt Patricia knows better than I do. But I know when I look at number 20 and now number 8 that that guy's good at the game of football. You should probably figure out how to use him more at the game of football. That's not inside baseball. That's just anybody. All of us know that situation. Okay, Andrew, you're up. Stefan's starting to shore up his front 7. You've got a back 7 guy and a front 4 guy. Where are you going next?
We're going to take Jermaine Matthews. And one of the reasons
disloyal media member.
No, well, here's why I'm gonna take him. We're gonna put him in the slot right now.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see how this draft plays out. I did this with Saraveld in our offensive pod where I drafted him. I drafted him as my right tackle, and it took me like probably 5 minutes of pod time to be like, actually, he's not going to play tackle anymore because we're just going to put him at guard and we're going to try to eliminate all the tackles for Stefan. I'm going to put him in the slot right now and have him play in that role because I think that is probably where he's going to end up. But also, I think this team is really, really deep at corner. I think we do have questions in the slot, specifically at the depth of the slot positions. I think there are some guys that we talk about. So I think you could make a really good case that there were, maybe somebody else above him on this big board. Maybe you look at the corners and say, is he even the number 1 corner? But I think the versatility of Jermaine Matthews pushed him ahead for me, and that's why I go with him, and we're going to put him in the slot.
I don't think there's that many people above him on the big board. He's awesome.
He is very good. I think, like, if you have, Davis and Igbenogson ahead of him, Okay.
Sure, but I don't think you're reaching by taking Jermaine.
I don't think I'm reaching either, but I do think his positional versatility makes him more valuable than a lot of other people on this list.
Right.
He's 100% one of the 6 best
Yes.
defensive players on this team.
Yeah. Listen, you're not reaching by taking him. You're just disloyal by taking him. That's all.
He might be the second best defensive player on this team, to be quite honest.
No, because Sonny Styles is still here.
That's true.
The reason Sonny Styles has not come off the board here isn't because we don't think he's good. It's because you're in love with Arvell Reese, and that's okay.
That's okay. I mean, I can do something about that real quick.
You can also do something about it right now. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's what you're about to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Sonny Styles, and I've got the captain.
Literally.
Can I? Yeah. Yeah, I think Stephon. I mean, look, Stephon has Ohio State starting linebacker core. That's really awesome, and this is going to hurt him personally. But unfortunately, this is as Lee Corso would say, strictly business. Stephon just picked him in the wrong order. I know he loves Arvell Reese. Sonny should have went ahead of Arvell.
The reason I disagree with that is because I felt more comfortable if you had gotten Sonny and I got Peyton Pierce than if you had gotten Arvell and I got Pettijohn.
I think that is correct. I think if we're ranking them, you are correct, Andrew. If we're talking about value to the team, if we're talking about best player, 100%. But because this is a competitive thing, I do agree. Because right now it seems like the backup Mike linebacker for the sake of a depth chart. Granted, if something happens to Arvell, they're giving Sonny Styles that in-helmet communication and calling it a day. But which also to Stephon's point. But if we're looking at a depth chart and we're putting names on things, the backup Mike linebacker right now is Riley Pettijohn. And he's a true freshman that I have a lot of belief in. I think he's going to be a great player one day. But that added element of you now have someone talking in your head and you have to be in control of the defense, there is still a gap between him and where the rest of these top 3 are. So from that standpoint, yes, he loves Arvell Reese, but also of the two, which one did he have to make sure he had? I think Arvell Reese is the more important one, especially after we heard on Monday the way that multiple people were talking about Peyton Pierce.
I will also say the counter, I got them both.
Yes, it really doesn't matter.
It's like, okay, I went into the store to get shampoo and strawberries, and guess what? I happened to walk through that aisle first. I got both things.
That's true. And you got them back-to-back picks, essentially. That's a fair point. Okay, Andrew, let's make pick number 8, and then we'll take a break.
CJ Hicks. We got to get after the quarterback. And I think CJ Hicks is going to be somebody to get after the quarterback, especially when you could help out with Kazmarek, but we're lining him up on Ian Moore or Deontay Armstrong. Give me CJ Hicks in that battle. Let's get after the quarterback. So I needed a pass rusher, someone that can get after the quarterback. I'm taking CJ.
CJ Hicks at 8, and Andrew jumped on him.
Mm-hmm.
Stephon, did Andrew need to jump on CJ Hicks?
No. I was going to let Andrew jump on the next defensive end and then make my decision for me because I'm fine either way.
Sure.
Okay. CJ's got a big day coming up on Saturday. And again, all of it's a piece of the puzzle. It's not the biggest piece, but I do feel like from a public perception standpoint, he's either going to leave Saturday and everyone's going to be like all aboard the CJ Hicks hype train. This dude's going to have 8.5 sacks or more next year. Or people are going to leave that day and they're going to be asking us, please stop telling us about CJ Hicks. And it's going to become a Josh Proctor situation all over again about how many different ways can you tell us this guy's going to be good and it doesn't really turn into anything. It's not all his fault. He just hasn't had a role. But that's our top 8. Caleb Downs, Kenyatta Jackson, Edric Houston, Caden McDonald, Arvell Reese, Jermaine Matthews, Sonny Styles, CJ Hicks. That's an interesting top 5. I don't know if I agree with it, but I also don't know if I disagree with it. I think there's a lot of room for Texans 614-350-3315 to feel whatever way they want to feel about this. So let us know how you feel about that. We're going to take a break and continue our spring draft here on Buckeye Talk.
There are people out there all across the country pushing boundaries to grow the game of golf. Like champion speed golfer Lauren Cupp, who plays faster than anyone else. And Will Lowry, whose work in the golf community inspires more kids to get into the game. As a champion partner of the Masters, Bank of America supports everyone determined to find out what's possible. In golf and in life. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Bank of America N.A. member FDIC, copyright 2025, Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistant's assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
And we're back here on Buckeye Talk. Steve and me, Stephon Kreisig and Andrew Gillis. Andrew and Stephon are drafting their defense. They did offense yesterday. And just like how I threw out hints yesterday about some ways that people could burn other people, I see a couple on both sides already brewing. Andrew, I think you have an opportunity to really stick it to Stephon by how you play it.
Yeah.
Over the next couple rounds at some spots. But Stephon, I think you have an opportunity to essentially take a bulldozer to a pretty important spot on defense for Andrew with how you want to do something. And you can do it with this 9th pick if you choose to do it. Let's see where you go.
Yeah, I'm going to take Hayden Curry. And I think this is where the drop-off begins on the defensive end. I thought the reason I took Kenyatta is because I think he's the best defensive end on this team. And then I was patient, being willing to take Caden or CJ, depending where he went. But I knew the moment he took one of them, I was going to take the other because I think there's a gap between 1 and 2, and I think there's a massive gap between 3 and 4 at defensive end.
At least right now, because it's so early in the spring. That could change with some of these young guys popping up, but I think that's the right way to go about this right now. That is not where the stick it comes into play quite yet. That's still on the table. Andrew, you are now up. Again, Hayden Curry makes a lot of plays. So it's going to be interesting to see what he looks like now that he's going to be playing 30-plus snaps a game, maybe even 40 snaps a game. Makes a lot of plays. Good pick. Andrew, are you ready to stick it to Stephon? Let's find out.
I'm going to take Davison Igbinosun.
Okay.
We're gonna load up. I mean, if this draft went by and I didn't end up with Davison and Stephon didn't end up with Arvell, we should have just punted Buckeye Talk into the sun. Because what are we even talking about anymore? This had to happen. I had to get Davison. Stephon had to get Arvell. I'm good now. Like, we did it. We set out what we accomplished.
So you have the experience in the secondary.
And
I'm going to be interested to see how the Texers feel about that. Because there's experience and then there's young talent. And are Texers going to look at that and go, we trust what Andrew has, or are they going to eventually look at what Stephon's going to have to do and go, I like that more because the things that the people at the top have showed me are not, I don't like them as much. How these secondaries play out are going to be very interesting. Stephon, you have a chance to still stick it to Andrew at a very pivotal spot. Let's see if you do it.
I'm going to go to corner. It's not going to look as flashy, but I'm going to take the guy who's got a little more experience. I'm going to take Aaron Scott here.
So Aaron Scott played 74 snaps last year. 5-star recruit. Ohio State fought off Michigan and Oregon to get him. And he's going to have a role this year and play meaningful snaps with him. I don't hate the pick. But also, because Andrew took Davison Igbinosun already, I'm wondering what he's about to do now.
I'm going to take Devin Sanchez.
Okay.
And we're going to load out the cornerback room with what might be the starting trio. Davison Igbinosun and Devin Sanchez on the outside and Jermaine in the slot. And then Caleb Downs over the top.
Who plays more snaps against Texas, Aaron Scott or Devin Sanchez?
That's a good question.
That's a good
right
question.
now. And I think I'm going to ask you guys this question again in fall camp. So don't take this answer and feel like I'm going to hold it to you and to hold your feet to the fire when we get through the Texas game and go, remember back in April when you said, no. This is just right now feelings and vibes after seeing them go through a practice. Who plays more snaps in that game?
I think it's Aaron Scott.
I think right now it's Aaron Scott. But I want to, like, there is absolutely a possibility that we get to August and we go, oh, Devin, he used those 3 months of summer workouts to get bigger and to get stronger and to get fat. And we just look at him and go, oh, okay. Okay, well, now it's clear. And you just happen to have maybe the nation's best number 4 corner in Aaron Scott. But I think Aaron Scott's the answer right now. I don't know if the answer is going to be that August 10th.
So we're recording this on Monday. And the reason we're recording this on a Monday is you're getting it on Wednesday, but we're going to Cleveland on Wednesday to go watch a Guardians game.
We're taking the cleveland.com boys take a trip to Cleveland.
Hey, I don't know what you're
Yeah.
doing, Steven. I'm there to have a meeting and work.
Yeah, I mean, we're having a
I'm
company.
I'm not going for a Guardians White Sox game. I'm
No,
going to work.
we're legitimately going for a company outing. That is a factual statement because the company paid for the tickets. We're going to have lunch with our bosses, and it's us three and Jimmy. So it's literally a company outing. That's fair to say.
We
And
picked
so
the coldest day in April to do it.
I mean, to be fair, no one was expecting April to be 40 degrees. I definitely thought it was going to be in a t-shirt and shorts. And it's like, oh, I'm going to be in a hoodie out there. But the reason I'm saying how quickly we're recording this is, as of the time we're recording this, the only true freshman who's lost their black stripe is Quincy Porter. So Devin Sanchez still has like work to do.
Yeah.
To be in a position, we're asking questions about, hey, is this guy going to play starting level minutes? Is he going to play more snaps than Aaron Scott? Well, Aaron Scott's lost his black stripe already. He is literally in line to go play meaningful snaps this year. Devin Sanchez has work to do. And that's not a slight at Devin because it's not easy to lose your black stripe. I think Devin played very well on Saturday. And more than likely, I think we're all expecting him to have lost his black stripe well before they play that first game of the year. But it's a reminder for anyone who was ever trying to throw the JJ expectations on him. JJ lost his black stripe 3 practices in, and I think it might have been even quicker than that. It's the fastest any newcomer, not just freshman, any newcomer has ever lost their black stripe here. The spring game is on Saturday, and Devin has not lost his yet as of Monday afternoon at 3:18 when we're recording this. There's a chance he might have lost it by then. So maybe that's a change. But as of right now, he has not. But Andrew has 3 of the top 4 corners. So there's that. He kind of stuck it to Stephon there. Stephon, you still have a chance to stick it to Andrew.
Yeah, keep saying it, Steven. Keep laying it out there.
Well, Andrew, you accomplished your mission. You did it. That was my thing. Is when you put Jermaine when I was watching this play out, I'm like, oh, Andrew can put Jermaine in the nickel, and then put Davis Igmanosin and Devin or Aaron Scott on the outside. You did that, so you stuck it to him. You've got 3 of the top 4 cornerbacks. You did it. I said that. Stephon still exists, so maybe he'll get it, maybe he won't.
We've talked about. I want to see what the rules are here because we have talked about Caden Curry in the different ways. Am I allowed to put him on the interior? Is what I'm asking.
Let me see.
I mean, he hasn't. I mean, like, I'm not trying to obviously, like, this sounds hilarious coming from a biased source, but like, we haven't. I think we've talked about him more in like sub packages with like, oh well, like on third down you could put him on the inside, and then CJ and Kenyatta are your ends, and Caden Curry on 3rd and 11 goes to play like in a dime roll. Like, I feel like we've talked about that in like, but not out of a base. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels like in the base we've talked about, okay, well, this is their starting lineup. This is what they're going to play. I don't know if that's right. I don't know if that.
When we've seen the Rushman package, it's still been
but like the Rushman package is a sub package. Is I guess my point. Like if the the Rushman package
Jermaine Matthews at Nickelback is a sub package. He's not this team's
or is that just their starting lineup?
I think we've talked about Jermaine there more as an idea than anything.
I mean, today Matt Patricia said he could play both, and we're playing him at both. On Monday, he said he can play in the slot and outside. I don't think we've had Larry say Caden's playing 3 tech for us.
Well, when he was getting recruited, there was an idea that he would be a 3 tech. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look it up real quick because I think right now I have to agree with Andrew, but I want to see something. So Jermaine's been repping at nickel for 2 years now in practice. He has actually lined up in the slot, and this is according to PFF, in his career for 30 snaps. So that leans towards Stephon, that it's an idea and not a reality.
If I'm reading this correctly, Caden had 27 snaps on the interior last year.
I was getting there. Caden Curry, by position on the defensive line, he's played 1 snap in the A gap in his career, 37 snaps in the B gap, 27 snaps over the tackle, and 410 snaps on the edge. So essentially the same concept. It happens every so often, but it's not been like he has not been the guy inside. They're both certain packages. If we have allowed, so by that logic, because right now it's our idea that Jermaine Matthews is going to be the starting nickel. That's not proven in fact. Right now, I think the safe bet is to say that Lorenzo Styles will be the starting nickel. So, that's not about talent. That's about what's happening. Lorenzo Styles has been repping at nickel his entire career here.
Yeah.
Jermaine Matthews has been a part-time nickel. So you can make the face all you want, Andrew. That's the truth. Jermaine Matthews has been an outside corner his entire career here. So if we are going to allow that idea for the sake of you being able to have 3 of the top 5 corners on your team, because you're putting one guy in a position he has only played 20-something snaps at ever, then I will allow it. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take Logan George and move Caden inside.
Okay. These are ugly defenses. But okay. I'm gonna let it ride. Why'd you go with Logan George over Zion Grady?
I just think Logan George is higher on the depth chart. I mean, Zion Grady is a great prospect, but I mean, we're seeing a ton of Logan George out there with the second team. We're seeing Logan George working a ton with Caden Curry and with Kenyatta after practice. I just think he's ahead of him on the depth chart right now. I think he is second team defensive end.
Okay. You have no plans on stopping the run. You have every single plan of if Andrew's in 3rd and 8, his defense.
I was gonna say, I was like, that is a light in the behind defensive line.
He's not the ultimate.
We'll get after it.
Yeah,
We'll get after it. All right, but one of your defensive tackles who, like, first off, if Edric Houston's gonna play nose for you, that's fine. He weighs like 290. And then your other defensive tackle weighs 260 at the 3 tech with Caden Curry. And
I mean, to be fair, there's only one defensive tackle on the roster who weighs over 300 pounds. So that's not.
Yeah, but just it ain't that.
Like you're saying that like he chose Edric Houston, like there were other 300-pound defensive tackles to choose from. But that's fine.
Logan George weighs 249. That's about right.
He's an edge, a literal edge, not just a defensive end. Okay, so that's Logan George. That's pick number 13. Andrew, you are back up with pick number 14.
This is interesting. I didn't think he was going to go back to the defensive line. I thought he was going to go in the secondary because his secondary is really not good. I was not prepared for that. And even though we were talking about that, I thought he was going to go interior because he needs a big boy. What does he have? He's loaded out on the front 6, I should say. I am going to take Zion Grady as my other edge rusher. I thought that's who he was talking about when he was talking about moving the non-defensive tackle to defensive tackle. So I thought he was going to play Curry in that.
He was going to take a true freshman edge rusher and put him on the interior to get his.
No, I thought he was saying I'm going to move Curry inside so I could take Grady.
Okay.
I didn't think he was going to I didn't think he was going to take George. So I'll take Zion Grady. I'm good with Hicks and Grady. I think Zion Grady has a little bit of Edric Houston in him where it's like you talk about a freshman that could contribute. I think he's one of them. Zion Grady, I think, is going to be really, really good. I mean, this kid is, I think, really talented football player. So,
yeah,
I think he's the 4th best, at least, defensive end on this team. I don't think it's Logan George. I think it's Zion Grady.
I would have taken Zion Grady, but I understand it. You're going with the older guy. I get it. Stephon, I'm going to keep saying it. You can still stick it to him. It's still there for you if you want to do it. But you also have some work to do.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
So you have to decide which one you want to do. Let's see where he goes.
I have two names in my head, and they're both 2 very different draft strategies. So I'm trying to see.
I'm going to take Lorenzo Styles here.
Okay.
Team's actual starting nickelback. Someone who's actually played nickelback before.
Let's pick 15. That's not the stick it. I feel like you retreated with that pick, especially in a world where you have to go get him, but Andrew doesn't need him. But fair. I get it. You got to do what you got to do. Andrew, actually, let's take a break because that's 15 picks. So we'll take a break. Stephon still has an opportunity to stick it to Andrew. Andrew also, quite frankly, can continue to stick it to Stephon too with how he plays this out. But Let's see how it goes. We'll take our last break here. We're 15 picks in, and we'll finish up our defensive draft for the spring game here on Buckeye Talk.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Uh-oh, the last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
We're back on Buckeye Talk. Stephen Means, Stephon Kreistig, and Andrew Gillis. We're drafting Ohio State's defensive players ahead of the spring game. So far, here are our picks in order. Actually, I'll just give you the teams. Andrew's team is C.J. Hicks and Zion Grady on the edge, Caden McDonald on the interior, and then he's got a secondary featuring Davis Igbinosun and Devin Sanchez on the outside with Jermaine Matthews at nickel and Caleb Downs at safety. Stephon's got Kenyatta Jackson and Logan George on the edge with Edric Houston and Caden Curry, who he's popped in on the inside for essentially a look at a Rushman package, with Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles as his linebackers, Aaron Scott as his outside corner, and Lorenzo Styles on the interior as the nickel guy. Andrew, you are up with pick number 16.
Quote, he comes downhill with physicality that's phenomenal. He's a physical player. His communication, his command at linebacker, that's the piece of it right now for me that's improved through the spring. I'm going to take Peyton Pierce. That was a quote from Matt Patricia about Peyton Pierce. Peyton Pierce is really good. I think I did avoid the kill shot from Stephon there about linebacker. Peyton Pierce, again, this is a guy who I sound like Mel Kiper. Here's a guy where it's like, I mean, Peyton Pierce is, I think, somebody that James Laurinaitis is very fond of, and Matt Patricia is very clearly very fond of. This kid's good, and I think had Sonny Styles very realistically gone to the NFL after the 2024 season, which was obviously a possibility, he announced he was coming back. I don't know how much of a concern Ohio State would be having right now about their linebacking core. Of course, there would be a little bit more worry. You lose somebody who's probably going to be your block O, you lose a team captain, you lose all those things. That is part of it, but I think we're still talking about this linebacking core as if they can be really good. They're just unproven. Now they're a little bit more proven with Sonny. Peyton Pierce is really freaking good, and I'm happy to take him here.
Yeah, this is going to be the third year in a row where Ohio State could realistically play a three linebacker look if they wanted to, and no one would bat an eye at it. In 2023 is when Cody Simon was the third linebacker behind Steel Chambers and Tommy Eichenberg. Last year was Arvell Reese behind Sonny Styles and Cody Simon. Now it's Peyton Pierce behind Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. This is what I was saying when you could have stuck it to him by making Peyton Pierce your wild card. It also would have helped show up the fact that your defensive tackle situation is Caden Curry on the inside. There was an opportunity that you could have gotten Ohio State's top three linebackers and left Andrew with a bunch of young guys. But Andrew evaded it. Good for you, Andrew. You have a good draft, Andrew.
I do really like where my team is at.
All right. A good draft. Stephon, what's next?
I mean,
Stephon's like, it's okay.
He's having an okay draft. He's got a defensive end who's not started at defensive end, and he's got a defensive end who hasn't played a college game yet. And
you have a defensive tackle.
And you have a nickel who hasn't played nickel. I mean, yeah, sure, I got one guy moving. You got three guys that are in new spots.
No, yeah, to be fair, yes, there's going to be a lot of outside zone coming from Stephon's team.
It wasn't really with the kill shot on Peyton Pierce. I was kind of lenient there because I think I could just take Riley Pettijohn as my wild card here. And he's still in a tough spot at linebacker.
So that's who you're taking?
Yeah. Pierce is, he's a more experienced guy, but even still, he's going to be hard-pressed to get two high-level linebackers.
All right. Not mad at it. I like Riley Pettijohn. I think he's going to be a good player.
Yeah.
Andrew, you have a stick-it opportunity. It's going to take some development here. You gotta. It's not a one. It's a 1-2 situation. It's not just one haymaker, and let's see how you play it though. But you also still need a lot of different positions here. So where are you going?
I'm gonna take Malik Hartford.
Whew,
I'm gonna put him next to Caleb Downs.
There is a chance Andrew has the starting secondary.
Yeah.
Or at least
I needed it. I needed it after Jeremiah and Carnell.
Yeah.
I needed it.
Now, granted, like Jermaine's going to start. It's not clear that he's going to start at nickel, but it's very. You have at least 3 of the 5 starters. Only 2 of those guys are in positions where we're 100% sure they're going to play them. But you have 3 of the 5 guys who are going to be starters, and then 2 guys who are pushing for playing time this year. I think Malik might be in for a little bit of a breakout year. He physically looks a lot different than he has the last 2 years. He's fully healthy in a way that maybe he wasn't fully healthy last year, and maybe he's back on that. I don't know if he's a 3-and-done player, but maybe he's back on the trajectory he was on as a guy who could be a really highly level player here, and maybe we needed to hold our horses a little bit about maybe somebody jumping him in the hierarchy. But Stefan, you are up.
Yeah, I'll take Jalen McClain here.
You don't really have a choice. That
Yeah.
was the ticket, by the way. If you had not taken Jalen McClain here, Andrew could have used his wild card spot, and he would have had the top 2 corners.
Yeah, that would have been nuts.
In the top 3 safeties.
That would have been nuts.
I like Jalen McClain, though, and I am wondering if there's a world where him and Malik Hartford are kind of sharing a spot there, or whatever they do. Maybe Caleb Downs is a nickel because he's Caleb Downs and they can do whatever they want with him. And by that, Jalen McClain and Malik Hartford are now your 2 high safeties. I just think that you have unlimited possibilities for what you want to do with Caleb Downs, and because of that, there's an opening for Jalen McClain and Malik Hartford to both have real roles on this team. Andrew, you are up.
I was going to say real quick, the Texans are really going to have to decide, do they like Andrew thinner on the D-line against my thinner O-line, or do they like my stacked receiver room against his strong secondary?
And one person has Jeremiah Smith.
One person has Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs doesn't play corner.
You just said he could. You
Nickel.
just said he could play
nickel.
Okay, Nick, what's the second part of that? He plays nickel
safety.
Is it nickel linebacker? Is it nickel defensive end? Or is it nickel corner?
Okay, where does nickel defend?
At corner.
In the slot, usually.
In the slot.
I'm not putting Jeremiah Smith in the slot.
Yeah. Also, there's nickel safety, there's a nickel slot corner, there's a nickel Sam. Those are 3 very different. They all have the word nickel in them.
Yeah, well, he can. You just said he could play nickel corner.
Yeah, nickel corner. I didn't say he could play outside and cover an X receiver for 70 snaps. Well, go ahead. You're up.
I'm going to use my wild card. I'm going to take Fahim Delane.
That's just because you wanted to take Fahim Delane.
Well, I love Fahim Delane, but I also look at Stefan's safety depth, and I think Fahim Delane is the number 4 safety on this team. I know Leroy Roker is there. I think Fahim's better. I think Fahim, like when Matt Guerreri talked about him, he talked about him in a manner of just, man, this kid is physical. This kid gets to the line of scrimmage.
They're also using the words Malik Hooker when talking about Leroy Roker.
Yeah, that's fine. But I think Fahim Delane's more talented. I'm taking Fahim.
That's fine. I don't think that's a shot, though. Because if Leroy Roker is 50% of what Malik Hooker was, that's a pretty darn good safety.
I was really hoping he didn't take Jalen McClain, because I was going to take Jalen McClain for that wild card spot, and he would have been just dead.
All right, Stefan. You got 2 picks left.
Yeah, I'll take Leroy Roker here. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Andrew was he asked about Fahim Delane, or did he bring up Fahim Delane?
He got asked about Fahim Delane.
I'll make sure to ask about Leroy Roker next time to use that quote.
You want to know who didn't get asked about Leroy Roker and brought him up on his own? Caleb Downs.
It's an important voice in the room.
Yeah. I get, like, Andrew covers recruiting, so you can get a little star hazy when you cover recruiting. I get it. Fahim Delane is going to be an awesome player here, but I do not think he's 4th in the safety hierarchy. I think the top 4 is pretty set, and Fahim Delane he's like Quincy Porter. This year is about setting yourself up for a year from now when there's going to potentially be openings. And that's perfectly okay. Every freshman doesn't have to play. Andrew, you need a Mike linebacker, you need a defensive tackle.
I'm going to take Jason Moore.
I know you are.
Jason Moore, I needed a 3 tech because he actually plays the position. And I think Jason Moore is really athletic and really physical, and I think he actually pairs pretty well with Caden McDonald. Caden McDonald's awesome, so I'm good with that.
And Stefan, who's your other corner?
I'll take Bryce West,
who did play outside last year.
Yeah.
Even if we think he's moving into the nickel this year. And then linebacker, you have between Eli Lee, TJ Alford, the transfer whose name is escaping me right now, Ty Howard, and Garrett Stover.
Yeah. I'm gonna take Garrett Stover. I understand that Alford might probably have the higher ceiling. Maybe even Eli Lee. I mean, like, we were standing at the Saturday scrimmage, and one of the other writers was standing next to me. And he was like, "Eli looks big," and I went, "Oh, you mean Tommy Eichenberg?" It's very clear to see why that comparison is apt, and not just because of their number, but like, I needed some experience. Like, I've already got Fahim Delane on my team. I've already got Zion Grady on my team. I didn't want to have another younger guy there, so I'll take 2 second-year players and roll with Stover.
So here's our teams. Andrew has CJ Hicks, Zion Grady, Katie McDonald, Jason Moore, Garrett Stover, Peyton Pierce, Davison Igbinosin, Devin Sanchez, Jermaine Matthews, Caleb Downs, Malik Hartford, and Fahim Delane as his wild card. Stefan has Kenyatta Jackson, Logan George, Edric Houston, Caden Curry, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Aaron Scott, Bryce West outside, Lorenzo Styles, Jalen McClain, Leroy Roker, and Riley Pettijohn as his wild card. This is essentially Ohio State's too deep, at least how we feel it looks right now with a couple of freshmen sprinkled in. How do we feel looking at this on paper? Mixed and matched. There's starters and backups and threes on both teams. How do you feel about Ohio State's defense looking at these two teams?
I feel pretty good about the defense because the depth in the secondary is just crazy. Like Jalen McClain.
Well, the depth at corner, the depth at safety, you need some guys to step up. I think there's a differentiator.
I mean, yeah, but like, I think we all think like Malik Hartford right now, we probably pencil in as a starter. I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen McClain ended up being the starter. So like, you've got at least depth to the sense of there's 2 guys competing for one spot next to Caleb Downs. Like, I think you're okay there. One of those guys, I feel pretty confident will step up and kind of solidify themselves. So I think you're pretty good in the secondary. Really, the defensive line is where I have the questions. Like, I don't know what you have behind the 4 starters, especially at tackle. CJ Hicks, Zion Grady, Jason Moore, like these are all kind of ideas of what we think these guys can be in 2025. Like, it really emphasized to me doing this defensive draft that they're going to have someone step up on the defensive line that right now we're saying is, oh yeah, we think that guy can be good, but he needs to like be good and like consistently be good for this team. Because as good as the 4 starters were last year, Caden McDonald made maybe one of the biggest plays of the season at Penn State.
Yeah.
You know, he was able to step in and do that. Edric Houston ended up starting a game and was amazing for this team down the stretch of the season. Like, Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry, both very trustworthy options at defensive end to come in, you know, for JT and Jack. You don't have that luxury right now on this defensive line. And I think this draft kind of reminded me of that as we were going through the names and the positional value of certain guys.
Well, I think also it was a reminder just how good and how deep the 2024 team was. You know, because you look at some of these guys, and like, with all due respect to the offense and defense, this is kind of just the way it's supposed to be. Like obviously Ohio State is one of the most talented teams, if not the most talented team in the country, and we all know the reasons why. Their receiver position at the top is crazy, but even like 4, 5, 6 is nuts. Same at corner. You know, you can kind of map that out. Like I have Jermaine Matthews, Davison Igbinosin, Devin Sanchez, and we're like, that might be their starting secondary. Like, that might be first defensive snap against Texas. That might be the trio. But then Stefan also has Aaron Scott and Lorenzo Styles. Like, Bryce West. I mean, Bryce West on the outside is not ideal, but it's like, even still, Lorenzo Styles and Aaron Scott are 2 really solid depth players. But like, at linebacker, you know, you look at it.
Lorenzo Styles a depth player. I still think he's a starter.
Sure, that's fair. But like, you look at linebackers, like, all right, he has Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles. this is kind of the way it's supposed to be, right? Like after that, you need guys to step up. Hey, you have Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry and CJ Hicks, depending on what his type of role is. And then you need guys to step up because we're talking about this defensive line as guys need to step up. And then we're talking about safety. Somebody needs to step up. Like last year, it kind of felt like we were set in stone, maybe a little bit more than we are now. Well, this year, I think you're saying we need a leap from this guy. We need to see leaps from this guy and this guy and this guy.
I think I agree with you. And I basically just said the same thing, but I'm almost kind of contradicting myself now of when we were at this point last year, or even in like August of last year, Caden McDonald was still kind of an idea of how good he can be. Edric Houston, we didn't know was going to even move at that point. Like, there is part of this too of it. You look at it now, you say, man, last year's team was so deep. This year's team is going to lack that. Last year's team needed guys to step up as well. I mean, how are we feeling about Malik Hartford at this time last year? How are we feeling about Peyton Pierce at this time last year? Or, I mean, even Arvell Reese, we had CJ Hicks as the third linebacker, and Arvell Reese ended up being that guy. So it's like it's give and take a little bit where, yeah, last year's team was super deep, but a year ago today, I don't know if we were looking at it saying all these guys are solidified. We know that they're too deep everywhere. Like it took guys taking leaps as well last year. So it's like this isn't grounds for like, concern, I don't think. It's just a reminder of you lost a lot, and every year at Ohio State, you kind of need guys who are highly rated to take that step when they're sophomores and juniors.
And that's normal. And that's the way, this is just that last year's team was just otherworldly talented.
There's a lot of ideas on this list. I think they're going to be a good defense. I also think their floor is kind of low. This is super high floor. Excuse me, super high ceiling. But I also think a significantly lower floor, which is, I think, why Ryan Day, anytime we've talked to him, he keeps going, we had to take a step back and just do football, right? Oh, man, I wish we had another 5 weeks of spring football. There's a lot of guys who we think are good, but just have not played a lot of football. And so, as a result, what you've seen is pleasant surprise CJ Hicks, pleasant surprise Devin Sanchez, pleasant surprise Malik Hartford and Jalen McClain. But you're also mixing that with, well, Malik Hartford's in his third year, so you would hope he'd be ready, but you also could say the same thing about Jason Moore. And he went 22nd. When Andrew, after your first practice in 2023, if I told you, hey, in 2 years, we're going to do a spring draft heading into the 2025 spring game, I'm sure you were probably thinking Jason Moore would have gone in the top 8.
If you had told me that day, because again, it was like the first practice I ever covered, and he walks out of the building, and I went, "Who?" I might have cussed, so I don't want to say it exactly. But I was like, "Who is that?" And I think you're right. I think with Jason Moore, he would said August 2023, "Hey Andrew, there's this thing we do before the spring game. So spring game of 2025, where's he going?" And I'm going to be like, well, we're probably talking about him. Oh, maybe can he be a first or second round pick after his third year? Is this somebody that is just going to be that high level pass rusher on the interior that people love? Because obviously he's going to be great. And obviously a lot of those dudes came back last year. So, maybe he's just been waiting and whatever, but yeah,
that's not what it sounds like.
And I was just going to say, Ryan Day said Monday, we need guys to step up. We've seen flashes. I think that was what he said. We've seen flashes, but we need guys to take consistent steps, and they just haven't seen that yet. So, yeah, you're right. Some of this is lock it in. This guy's great. Some of this is lock it in. Arvell Reese. This guy's gonna be great. Some of this is just pontificating.
There's just a gap with the third year guys between guys who are in the Arvell Reese conversation and then the people who are in the other conversation with the third year guys because your third year guys are typically like the heart of your roster because it's guys who have spent 2 years developing. A lot of them are still around and they're NFL eligible for the first time after a year. So that's where you kind of bank on things, which is why 2024 was so interesting because it wasn't that. It was the fourth year guys because in 2023, those guys didn't accomplish what they came here to accomplish. So they all came back. So the third year guys didn't have to do much, right? The third year guys, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson, CJ Hicks, they were just stuck behind. So it was essentially Sonny Styles as one of the few third year guys who had a legitimate role. On offense, this year's crop of third year guys are ready. Carnell Tate's awesome. Brandon Ennis is going to be awesome. Bryson Rogers is in the conversation. Austin Saraville, Luke Montgomery seem like they're ready to go, right? Jelani Thurman, there's maybe a little bit more questions. Even at quarterback, Lincoln Keenos is pushing. Whether you think he's going to be a starter or not, he has put himself in a position to take his best shot at this. On defense, there's a lot of third-year guys where outside of Arvell Reese and Jermaine Matthews, they're this. They're at level 10. There's no concerns. They're going to be awesome. And then you got Malik Hartford and Jalen, who's like, okay, I'm ready. Now, that's your belief that that's the guy who's going to pop. But it feels like it's just him. As for us third-year guys who are finally getting an opportunity to pop and they're going to take advantage of it. And then a bunch of other third-year guys on defense where we're going, well, I think. So I'm not worried, but I'm on alert for it might look a little sloppy at some and they're going to figure it out. And this is the other reason why I hate that they're playing Texas week 1, because there's no give there for either side. Because Texas is going through this too. We just cover Ohio State, so we're looking at it from that perspective. But both of these teams seem like they have situations where they can really use a situation where they don't have to play a top 5 opponent in week 1. So it can
they could really use playing Ohio week 1, not Texas.
Just for the sake of so it looks sloppy without consequence versus, oh no, it looks sloppy and you lost a football game, and now we're going, how many more games can you lose and still make the playoff? But that's what happens when you have this much turnover after winning a national championship. Ohio State was in this position in 2021 too.
I think it makes for interesting conversations with some of the freshmen, the way we talk about them. Like, I think Zion Grady becomes a bit more exciting name when, not only is, a guy like Logan George or CJ Hicks,
right,
pretty unproven at the position. It's also like, we haven't seen a ton of Kenyatta and Caden. So like if they're not what we think they could be, then maybe Zion Grady enters that. Like Fahim Delane, who you got as a wild card, Andrew. It's like, we think Malik Hartford and Jalen McClain are, the best options aside from Caleb Downs. But again, like, not super proven, haven't seen a whole ton. Suddenly Fahim Delane starts becoming this popular name in the offseason. Like, these freshmen are making interesting conversations because, like, we weren't talking a ton about Edric Houston last year. Why? Because, like, you had so many veterans on the defensive line. Yeah. And now it's like Zion Grady becomes this interesting name because even the veterans are not particularly proven yet.
And they've been there. This season is still 2021 coded. That's where they were in 2021. You want to know who Devin Sanchez was in 2021?
Denzel Burke.
You want to know who Zion Grady was in 2021?
Jack Sawyer.
You know what I mean?
He's 2 for 2.
Literally. That's what we're saying. The last time freshmen were this interesting because there were this much turnover, and not just one. JJ is an outlier, but having this many guys where you feel like, I don't know, man, Riley Pettijohn, could he do something? I don't know, man. Fahim Delane, could he be the fourth safety? I don't know, man. Is Zion Grady going to play? Was 2021 when the roster reset, ironically, after getting to a national championship game. And they lost all those linebackers. They lost a lot of their secondary. And then they played Minnesota week 1 on the road on a Thursday night game. Then they played Oregon the week after that. Again, no give. So a defense that took a step back because it was young, plus you had a talented offense, didn't have give. And so they lost the game. And so it became a year of you can't lose anymore. You're not making the playoff. And then they lost to Michigan, and we all know how that story played out. That's what I'm looking at here is young talent where everything is interesting, but it's also like, okay, well, what if it doesn't give you any give and you get the Texas game and they lost, and then you get to the end of the year and it's like, why did you lose to Texas? Because they were young and hadn't played football. But unlike 2021, where there are dire consequences for losing in the first 2 weeks, they can learn from it in 2025, and it doesn't kill anything.
The interesting part to this is like that I think this really kind of taught you is I think like you're saying last year it was very much a let's ramp up to it.
Old.
Everybody, well, everybody was old and you kind of knew, but there was also this like ramp up period where it was like, let's develop our depth early. Like, you remember Tyleek was out and they were kind of like, yeah, if we played a bigger game, maybe Tyleek is in the lineup. Like Tyleek, I don't think he played against Michigan State. I don't think he played against Western Michigan or something like that. Like, and even then it was, I think, with Akron, Western Michigan, like he played kind of nobody at the beginning. And then even your Big Ten games, it was Michigan State and Iowa and then Oregon. And you were able to kind of build up to this. I think this kind of lets you know, okay, well, this Ohio State team, you're going to almost have to figure out the depth afterwards. It's like, hey, we're going to give you it's like bar rescue. We're going to give you, how they say we're going to fix a bunch of stuff and then we're going to do the stress test. They're going to do the stress test first, and then they're going to see what they need to fix after they come up for water after Texas, whether they win or lose. And I think that this exercise definitely kind of like laid this out of, there's a lot of, like you said, a lot of questions, but you might not be able to figure that out until the end of September.
And you can be exciting about them, but
sure.
It doesn't.
100%.
The last time they had this level of turnover, it didn't look always like a finished product the first couple of weeks. And I'm wondering if we could get a similar situation here, where again, new coordinator and a bunch of new guys as well. But also, Matt Patricia's been down this road before, so maybe we'll have it all figured out. Get the text 614-350-3315. Those are our teams. Let us know how you feel about the way Andrew and Stefan drafted. I'll probably send out a survey asking who won, and I'll reveal that after the spring game on Saturday, which is on Big Ten Network. We did talk with the wide receivers this weekend, so that'll be tomorrow's pod, and that'll be the last time you hear from Andrew and Stefan before the spring game. I think I'm going to do something with the Texers for Friday pod, but I'm not 100% sure yet if I'm going to do that. We're getting a lot of new people. Welcome to all the new Text subscribers. Keep coming in, man. 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that for Stefan Kreisnick and Andrew Gillis. I'm Stephen Means, and that was Buckeye Talk.